today tackled fields of cooperation between both countries, as well as coordination at the political level, fields of economic cooperation, and of course China and the Chinese companies over the previous 10 years had the great contribution in Egypt's development efforts through the infrastructure projects in the new administrative capital, as well as New Alamein, in addition to the light train, in addition to its contribution in the Egyptian development efforts. And we discussed also the horizons of future cooperation in this context, and the readiness of China for close cooperation with Egypt to achieve the joint interests for development, to achieve the welfare for peoples of both countries. I commend the development achieved by China, as this is a role model for developing countries. This reflects the political will to achieve progress and development, and we are looking forward to benefiting from the Chinese experience, and we have multiple fields for cooperation, and there is full coordination at the political level and the multilateral levels. There is mutual cooperation in different sectors, and of course the current developments in the region, what's taking place in Gaza, the tension in the Red Sea, as well as the continuous suffering of the Palestinians and the large number of civilian victims, in addition to the displacement and the difficulty of providing humanitarian aid to them due to the measures taken to detect and screen these aids, put the civilians in Gaza in a very difficult condition. And we can describe them as people in catastrophic conditions. We are going on cooperating together to face these challenges, and Egypt is against the displacement of Palestinians, and it asks for an immediate ceasefire and an end to this military aggression on the land of Gaza, as well as the provision of humanitarian aid to Gazans. And we thank China for supporting the resolution 2027 of the Security Council that gives the UN the opportunity to be responsible for screening the aids, to expedite the process of accessing these aids to Gaza Strip. We will go on with cooperation and coordination to deal with the main issue, and it is the just rights of the Palestinian people, and helping them establish their country according to the borders of 1967, with East Jerusalem as its capital. And identifying a time frame and time schedule for the implementation of international resolutions through establishing the Palestinian state that would lead to achieving stability, security, and peace for all peoples in the region, and would open also the horizons for cooperation. The regional conditions and developments are not the result of just what happened now, but it is the result of an existing occupation for multiple years. And negotiations did not help in achieving the just rights of the Palestinian people. So it's prime time to put an end to this cycle of violence and mutual violence that has a negative repercussion on stability at the regional level and the international level as well. I wish that we would go on in contact to support these issues, and President Xi Jinping and His Excellency President Sisi are keen on these continuous contacts between both countries. President Sisi received a verbal message from President Xi Jinping for re-electing the president for a new term, and an invitation was sent to the president Sisi to visit China. And also the president sent the visit to President Xi Jinping to visit Egypt for continuous collaboration at different levels, as both countries give due importance to cooperation between them at the bilateral and multilateral levels. And now they are both part of BRICS, and this is another framework that we wish would achieve our joint objectives. Thank you very much. And now I will give the floor to the Minister.
各位记者朋友，大家好。中国外交有一个传统，那就是外长每年首次出访一定要来到非洲。这一传统已经坚持了34年，既彰显了中非之间的深厚友谊，也向世界表明中国永远同非洲、同发展中国家站在一起。今年很高兴能够将埃及作为非洲之行的首站。埃及的谚语讲：“喝过尼罗河的水，一定还会再来。”新年伊始，我们
Convening here again beside the River Nile. Over the recent years and under the leadership of President Sisi, the Egyptians made great achievements in building and constructing their country. President Sisi once more won the presidential elections, and we'd like to extend congratulations to the president. And we are confident that he would lead the Egyptians to achieve more accomplishments, to achieve its renaissance. This year is the 10th anniversary of the comprehensive strategic partnership between Egypt and China. Over the previous decade, through the leadership of Presidents Xi Jinping and President Sisi, both countries opened a golden age for bilateral relations. Under the leadership of both countries, we are confident that this comprehensive strategic leadership and partnership between countries would make us face a brighter future. I had a while ago fruitful talks with Foreign Minister Shoukry, and we jointly found that there is a necessity to deepen the confidence between both countries at bilateral levels to protect the interests of both countries. And we thank the Egyptian support to the Chinese interests, especially regarding Taiwan issue, and the Chinese side would keep supporting Egypt to secure its security and stability and to take the pathway of development. In light of the current developments, we also agreed on the importance of developing the project of the road and the belt. And we have also signed an implementation program for the strategic comprehensive partnership for the coming 5 years. And we are keen on the good implementation of everything in this agenda to support collaboration in different fields and to continue supporting Egypt in building itself economically and socially, as well as encouraging more Chinese companies to do business in Egypt, in addition to importing more Egyptian products. And we also agreed that China and Egypt have historical great civilization, so it's important to support the dialogue at the level of civilizations. And we are keen also on further cooperation with the Egyptian side in the field of culture, youth, as well as vocational education and technical training, in addition to encouraging more Chinese tourists to come to visit Egypt and get to know its great civilization. And we agreed also on more coordination and communication regarding regional and international issues. Egypt is a big country in the Islamic world, in Africa and in the Arab region. And we have also held the 10th meeting for the Arab-Chinese collaboration as well as the African-Chinese cooperation. That's why we are looking forward to African-Chinese, Arab-Chinese cooperation and take it to new horizons so that we would support the South-South cooperation. We would like to congratulate Egypt for accessing BRICS, and we are enhancing the cooperation with Egypt in the framework of BRICS in order to overcome the polarization in the world and to support economic globalization that would achieve inclusion and benefit for everyone. Now the international community is very much interested in what's taking place in Gaza Strip, and we discussed with the minister this issue, and we are going to publish a joint communique between Egypt and China regarding the Palestinian issue, and we will call for an immediate ceasefire as well as the release of hostages from both sides, in addition to the implementation of the UN and the Security Council resolutions, and to provide the humanitarian aid to Gazans and facilitate it for the Palestinian Authority to shoulder its responsibility on all Palestinian territories. And we are following up with concern the developments in the Red Sea. We emphasize that we are concerned about the tension in the region, and we need to ease this tension and give the priority to securing safe navigation in the Red Sea. We also need to implement the two-state solution to open new horizons for peace between the Palestinians and Israelis. Egypt and China will continue enhancing the cooperation and the coordination between them to come up with a just solution for the Palestinian cause. Thank you. We'll open the floor now for two questions for each minister. We'll start with the questions to Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry. The first question, Ms. Amal Sabri from the Egyptian television. Good afternoon. I'm Sabri, Nile News Channel, Egyptian television. My question is to Minister Shoukry. Minister Shoukry, over the two previous days, we have seen the legal teams from South Africa and Israel and their advocates in front of the International Criminal Court. How does Egypt see such a development, and would it make a change in things on the ground and would put an end to the Israeli aggression? Of course, we are following up this trial and the case submitted by South Africa to the International Justice Court regarding the Genocide Treaty. And Egypt is always keen on following up and supporting the efforts to highlight the facts and the truth and to conduct the investigations regarding any practices, especially those practices that are as grave as such towards civilians, with this large number of civilians, women and children who were harmed, in addition to the destruction witnessed by Gaza Strip. The request now is temporary actions, and I think that at the top comes if the International Criminal Court would find that according to the Prevention of Genocide Treaty, it can achieve the ceasefire. So this is our first call, immediate ceasefire, and we have been calling for it since the beginning of the military operations, taking into consideration the catastrophic humanitarian conditions in Gaza.
محكمة دولية أعلى محكمة أعلى سلطة قضائية دولية وفقا لميثاق الأمم المتحدة فبالتأكيد إنه التأثير الذي قد
the impact
من شأنه
of this trial might put things in context and would enable us maybe to contain this crisis and prevent its escalation and its repercussions, and also would help protecting the Palestinians from the killing and the injuries, as well as forced displacement and the evacuation, in addition to preventing any attempt to get the Palestinians out of their territories, be it from Gaza Strip or the West Bank. A question to the Foreign Minister of China, Dong Xinhua from Xinhua, the Chinese news agency.
王毅外长您好，我是
الوزير السيد وانغ يي أنا من وكالة شينهوا. تم إخراج الانتخابات ما يسمى برئاسية لمنطقة تايوان وتم فوز لاي تشين دو في هذه الانتخابات، فما رأيكم في مستقبل تايوان؟ جاء سؤالكم في وقته. أحرص على توضيح الموقف الصيني أن الانتخابات في منطقة تايوان فقط شأن محلي للصين، فمهما كانت نتائج الانتخابات لن تغير الحقيقة الأساسية بأن لا يوجد في العالم إلا الصين واحدة وأن تايوان جزء من الصين، ولن يتغير التزام المجتمع الدولي بمبدأ الصين الواحدة كتوافق سائد. قبل 80 سنة ومن مدينة القاهرة التي نحن موجودين اليوم أصدرت الصين والولايات المتحدة وبريطانيا إعلان القاهرة التي نص بشكل واضح على إعادة أرض الصينية تايوان المسروقة من اليابان إلى الصين. وبعد ذلك في
And also in 1945, China and the United States, the UK and the Soviet Union made the Boston Statement. On Article 8, it talks about the necessity of implementing the Cairo Declaration elements, and Japan accepted Boston and announced its surrender. So these are international legal documents that are the components of the international order after World War II, and it has put the legal foundation that Taiwan is an integral part of the Chinese territories. It was never a state, be it in the past or in the future, and the independence of Taiwan did not succeed in the past and won't succeed in the future, and there is no possibility for it. Anyone who wants to manipulate with the independence of Taiwan is seeking to divide the regional Chinese territories, and he would be penalized by law and history. And if any entity wants to divide the one China, then he's intervening in the internal affairs and the sovereignty of China, and he would face full refusal on part of the Chinese and the international community. The independence of Taiwan does not meet the interests of the Taiwanese, and it harms also the interests of the Chinese nation and destabilizes the area in Taiwan Strait. China would reunite the country again, and Taiwan would again get back to its mother country. We are confident that the international community would keep supporting the just issue of the Chinese against the independence movements. From Al-Ahram Al-Arabi, a question. Thank you, Mr. Minister. I have a question on the conflict in the region. Egypt warned from the expansion of this conflict in the region, but unfortunately now we are witnessing a lot of tensions in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, and the Red Sea. So, do you see that this conflict is being expanded, and what are the ideas that Egypt can share in an attempt to put an end to the expansion and the extension of this conflict, although Israel is totally against ceasefire? Since the beginning of the crisis, we have been warning about the extension of this conflict, and we are asking for ending it in China and in Gaza. Although in the beginning of the crisis, the civilians were not targeted, yet we kept asking for ending this aggression in China. But there have been a lot of military operations that led to a lot of harms to the Palestinians and the infrastructure in Gaza. 70% of buildings were demolished, and all the Gazans went to the south of the Strip, and there is difficulty in providing humanitarian aid to people. And there is a difficult humanitarian and health condition now in Gaza, in addition to the escalation, be it on the Lebanese borders, through targeting different targets and locations, in addition to the tension in the Red Sea and preventing navigation in it. These are all things that show, whether intentionally or by mistake, that the whole region will get into a vicious circle of escalations that have dangerous effects on economy, stability and security, as well as lives of citizens. So we emphasize the necessity of dealing with this matter through first ceasefire in Gaza and dealing with the basis of this problem, which is the occupation and the just rights of the Palestinian people, establishing a Palestinian state through an international agreement at a certain timing, as well as acknowledging and recognizing Palestine as a state with full membership in the UN. This would put an end to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and would get the whole region out of this continuous cycles of violence and vendetta, and it would open the door for coexistence and security for all peoples in the region. We need to deal with the essence of this problem, and it's providing the just rights of the Palestinians, on top of which is establishing a Palestinian state. If this is achieved, then we'd be able to put an end to the reasons of tension and conflict. One last question to the Foreign Minister of China, Ms. Aya from Phoenix TV. Mr. Minister Wang Yi, I'm Aya from Phoenix Channel. Since this conflict in Gaza last October, we have found great concern on part of the international community. Would you please tell us what is the policy of China regarding this conflict? First of all, regarding this issue, China fully understands and supports what the Foreign Minister Shoukry mentioned. We support the Egyptian stance, and the conflict is still going on in Gaza Strip, and it led to the death of a lot of civilians and led also to a dangerous humanitarian condition, and there are also repercussions from this conflict on the whole region. We are working with the Arab and Muslim countries to reach ceasefire and to end the fighting, and we are seeking to protect civilians, and we are exerting efforts to find a comprehensive, permanent, fair solution to the Palestinian conflict. The Palestinian cause has lasted for 76 years, and we cannot let it last longer. With the conflict taking place right now in Gaza, we believe that the immediate ceasefire is a top priority.
قد أودى الصراع في غزة
And the conflict in Gaza led to the death of 20,000. Things are very dangerous, and the international community need to focus all its efforts on ceasefire and the protection of civilians to save the lives of civilians. Secondly, securing the humanitarian aid is a must. There was full destruction of infrastructure in Gaza, and 2 million inhabitants now are struggling to survive. So we need to implement the decisions regarding the humanitarian aid, and we need to implement the Security Council resolution to create mechanisms for aid provision in a safe, sustainable manner without any barriers. The Chinese government decided to provide the third batch of humanitarian aid urgently to the people of Gaza. And also the future measures in Gaza should respect the will of the Palestinians, and the ceasefire and ending the fighting is a must, and also the Palestinians should enjoy their own state. And this is essential for the future of Gaza, as well as supporting the Palestinian Authority and develop a realistic path to support the Palestinians in Gaza Strip. The international community need to listen seriously to the needs of countries in the region. The future governance in Gaza should be a step towards the two-state solution. Fourthly, the two-state solution is a path that we need to have a just solution to the Palestinian cause. The Palestinian cause need to put an end to the historical injustice, and we need to give justice to the Palestinians as soon as possible and find a political solution in light of the Arab Peace Initiative and the Security Council resolutions. And we need to hold on to establishing a Palestinian state with full sovereignty over the borders of 1967 with East Jerusalem as its capital. China is inviting to hold an international peace conference for this purpose, to put a time schedule and a specific roadmap for implementing the two-state solution, as well as resuming the peace negotiations between Israel and Palestine to achieve peaceful coexistence between them, and to help also the Arabs and the Jews to live peacefully together. Also, we need to consider what's taking place in the Red Sea. We are giving due attention to the Red Sea. The Red Sea is an international important waterway. So we call for ending the attacks on the ships down the Red Sea, because this harms the international supply chains, and the Security Council should prevent any country from using power against Yemen. We need to avoid spilling oil on fire, as this would ignite things more, and this would increase the security risks in the region. The tension in the Red Sea symbolizes the external effects of what's taking place in Gaza. So the main concern should be ending fighting in Gaza, and all parties need to support navigation in the Red Sea and protect it, as well as respect the sovereignty of Yemen and other countries overlooking the Red Sea. Thank you.